You know, sometimes I just want, you know what I'm saying? Like, just be quiet. Oh, my fault.
Huh?
Hey, bro, start the intro.
Seth got the waves.
Jimmy on the beat, boy.
What's good? It's Everything TV, and I'm back with yet another Jordan video. You feel me? Now, this one finna be a long one. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. This is Jordan making the case. Now, for me personally, a Jordan fan, you know what I'm saying, the super fan, there ain't no case to be made. You know what I'm saying? There ain't no case to be made. I see stuff every day that just confirm the facts. This man is the greatest. I know, you know, a lot of people, they don't even want to compare the eras. They don't want to compare who the greatest. To me personally, being 22 years old, I don't care. I ain't have to watch him, grow up watching him to know he's the greatest. That's just me. Do not, hey, don't dislike the video. Just watch. But if you like this video, hit the like button, comment down below. You feel me? We on that road to 1,000. So if you want to, go and hit that subscribe for me. We going crazy. Now, since this is a long one, I would have did 2 parts. But if you want to, you could just like the video and just come back to it if you ever feel like it. That's just a suggestion. But with that being said, we finna get straight into this video.
The size of the court and the lack of pads or helmets give fans the most intimate experience of a team sport that exists. And because of the different styles that basketball allows for, players develop their own distinct identities and signature styles through their creativity, flair,
Pete,
and athleticism.
Dang!
And although no player succeeds alone, the scoring volume and two-way nature of the sport give individual stars a nearly unprecedented amount of control over the flow and outcome of a game. For this reason, players are constantly compared to their peers and to the legends of the past in order to answer the most hotly contested question in the sport. Who's the greatest to ever do it? For many,
Michael Jordan.
the question is redundant. They believe in only one right answer, their answer. Others might have their own personal stance, but acknowledge one or two alternatives. But I believe that there's much more nuance to the question of greatness and more answers to it than you might think. By my count, there are 8 players in NBA history that have a substantial claim as the GOAT. It's a subjective thing though. I can't give you a definitive answer. All I can do is make the argument. So today, I'll be making the case for Michael Jordan as the greatest basketball player of all time.
Let's get it. We already did Larry. I've been waiting to do this one. Had to make it special for y'all, man. Let's see what he talking about, bruh.
Well,
Enlighten
what
me.
can I say? What on earth can I say about Michael Jordan's case as the greatest basketball player to ever live that hasn't been said before? What do you think I'm going to talk about?
Hold on, for real quick. I'm not trying to make this too long. 41 points a game in the finals.
Huh?
See, this is what I'm saying.
Didn't get covered in the 10-hour documentary that premiered at a time when there was no other sports content. There's no forgotten game that I can tell you about that shows just how good Jordan was. We've all seen those games. Every possible angle of the Michael Jordan case has been dissected inside and out. There are no original takes when it comes to the subject. Michael Jordan is a ubiquitous figure in large part because he was and is a brand. And what do American advertisers love more than a good brand? The good people at McDonald's, Nike, Gatorade, and the NBA itself succeeded in making sure that damn near everyone in the world knew that Michael...
Yo, look at the camera though. Yo, that just brought back so many memories, bro. Oh my... Yo...
Michael Jordan played in the NBA and that he was a winner. I mean, honestly, when you see the number 23 anywhere, don't you immediately think of Michael Jordan? I mean, even if you're a LeBron fan, you have to admit that that is Michael Jordan's number. And the craziest part about the Jordan experience is that as he became a global icon, he did nothing but continue to deliver the goods. What iconic moment can I show you that you haven't already seen 100 times? His cradle dunk in college, the game winner in the '82 NCAA championship, the free throw line dunk.
Yes, sir.
Pouring in a record 63 points against the '86 Celtics. The shot.
It's too many. It's too many.
His spectacular move. The shrug.
It's too
The
many.
double nickel against the Knicks.
It's too many.
The
bro.
flu game. Passing to Steve Kerr for championship number 5. These are sequences and moments burned into every basketball fan's consciousness. Every one of those moments served to propel Jordan higher and higher in the cultural zeitgeist until he was one of, maybe, the 5 most famous human beings on the planet. And yet, the inevitable passage of time has eroded the consensus around Jordan's GOAT status, especially with younger people who might not have been alive to see him play. That's not to say that there aren't young people who don't see him as the GOAT, but it's not as airtight as it once was. Now, I'd hate to speculate on behalf of an entire generation of basketball fans, but here I go anyway. I was 516 days old when Michael Jordan won his last championship. I can't remember much about it.
Right.
And I think that people who didn't live through Jordan's prime are a little tired of hearing how great he was. Of course, people want to be alive to see greatness. They want to be able to say, I saw the best ever. Now, I don't think that makes it right, but it's part of the explanation.
Right.
The other part is that Jordan's celebrity seems to cloud everything he did. At times, it feels almost like propaganda. How many times have you seen this? Some basketball account on Twitter or somewhere on the internet celebrates the anniversary of something that, say, Wilt Chamberlain did. And in the
Right.
comments, somebody says something like, Wilt Chamberlain, the most dominant player I ever saw. And then someone comes back unfailingly and says, in all caps, did you never see Michael Jordan play?
Bro, I deal with this. These type of like comments and shares on Facebook all the time. But look, here's the thing: you just got to know how to defend it. You just got to know how to defend it because, but it's a big difference between just like ignorance, like people just. You got the trolls, and then you got people that genuinely just they grew up in that era and they believe that. Like a lot of my generation, they grew up watching LeBron, they grew up watching Kobe, so it's like that's embedded in their brain. They didn't get to see all of this and they not go back. They don't want to believe it. So a lot of times I just leave it alone. But again, in my other video, bro, them 12's just so sexy.
It's not just that you have to acknowledge Jordan as the GOAT, it's that you cannot talk about the merits of anyone else's case. The internet would have you believe that Michael Jordan won every game he played and made every shot he took. And that kind of talk breeds resentment from people who want to appreciate other players' accomplishments.
It's a fact.
Because he wasn't perfect. He didn't win every game. He didn't make every shot. And you can have a debate about who the greatest of all time is. Clayton, what the heck, dude? I thought this was supposed to be a video about why he is the GOAT. It is.
I ain't gonna say nothing.
All of that is just to say that that's how this is gonna go. I'm not going to try to convince you that he was perfect. Because if you can separate the legend and the basketball player, it's more than enough. Oh, and by the way, we're going to ignore his Wizards career as much as we can. It's just the right thing to do. So, Michael Jordan, the basketball.
Whoa. Red flag on the play. Why? He went crazy when he was on the Wizards. He just got injured. I mean, but,
player. What do we have? In 13 seasons with the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan was a 6-time champion, 6-time Finals MVP, 5-time regular season MVP, a 12-time All-Star, was selected to 10 first-team All-NBAs, made second-team All-NBA in his rookie season, was the Defensive Player of the Year in 1988, had
as a shooting guard,
9 All-Defensive first-team selections, was a 10-time scoring leader, and in college won the 1982 NCAA championship and was named the 1984 NCAA Player of the Year. Without a word of analysis or commentary, that resume is screaming about one of the most decorated and successful basketball players in history.
Ever.
Jordan's case is related to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's in that you can pick from just about any criteria you want to, and you'll find enough evidence to support his reputation. First and foremost, Jordan might well be the greatest scorer in basketball history. Ignoring his 2 years with the Wizards, Jordan's scoring average was 31.5 points per game. Michael Jordan in a Bulls jersey scored more points on an average night than any other player ever. Including his Wizards tenure, he averaged 30.12 points per game. still the highest of any player ever, beating out Wilt Chamberlain by a few decimal places.
Oh my
The style
goodness.
of Jordan's play was only matched by the substance of his game. Every ounce of athleticism that brought comparisons to Dr. J was matched by footwork that could only be seen in players like Hakeem Olajuwon. His acrobatic layups are underscored by his unerring technique and
Greatest
diligence
layup ever.
that make him a case study in fundamentals. At his peak, he tortured guards in the post, eluded big men with his electric first step, developed into the best mid-range scorer of all time,
Ever.
and ran Phil Jackson's triangle for
Ever.
all it was worth. He had nearly every offensive facet of the game in his toolbox, and he pulled out that toolbox every night. He has the highest usage rate of all time, scoring in volume on a nightly basis. But he also pushes advanced metrics and efficiency stats to their breaking points. He has the highest player efficiency ranking ever, the highest offensive box plus minus ever, the 5th most win shares, the most win shares per 48 minutes, an outstanding true shooting percentage,
going.
and so on. It is unfathomable to me that Jordan combined such unprecedented volume with such pristine efficiency. His opponents were allowed little reprieve on the other end of the floor, as Jordan quickly developed into one of the league's premier defenders. In 1988, Jordan led the league in scoring with 35 points a game, won the MVP, and was named Defensive Player of the Year after leading the league in steals. Jordan
crazy.
defended opponents like a shark smelling blood. He forced bad passes, contested shots, leapt passing lanes, all while talking enough trash to sell a pay-per-view fight. There might not have ever been a more nightmarish matchup on both ends of the floor. He could go into games, tell his own team to stay out of the way, dunk on his defender, and then put that guy in a straitjacket the second he crossed half court. And yet, despite the ungodly amount of energy that he must have expended every night, Jordan was one of the most durable and consistent players of his generation. Aside from his injury-shortened 86 season and his mid-season comeback in 95, Jordan never missed more than 4 games in a single season. In 8 of his Chicago seasons, he played all 82 games. The objective of a basketball game is to score.
You know how hard it is, bro, to play 82 NBA games at the highest level. At his level. See, we not talking about no randoms on the bench. You know, you just gotta, you get in a couple minutes. You do what you gotta do. You played your 82 games. You ain't get injured or nothing. We talking about Michael Jordan. Quit playing, bro.
More points than your opponent, right? So you'd love a player who can score a buttload of points. You'd also love a player who keeps the other team from scoring points. When you put those two things together, the best scorer ever and one of the most tenacious defenders in history, you get Michael Jordan,
That's
whose
crazy.
peak reaches into uncharted airspace. Michael Jordan, at his best, was better than everyone. Plain and simple. He would score, defend, and play in such a way that made winning second nature. No one else has ever tasted the air at the top of peak Jordan. Once he got to the top of that mountain, he was looking down at everyone else.
Bro.
But what about before then? I hear the skeptics among you ask.
Right.
And that's a fair point. He wasn't always that guy. Before the Bulls broke through in 91,
Dang.
Jordan suffered defeat in the playoffs to the Milwaukee Bucks, the Boston Celtics,
Bad boys.
and most memorably, the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah.
And I've seen this misconception that those losses all took place while Jordan was still basically on his own without Phil Jackson and Scottie Pippen. And that's obviously not correct. All 4 of the Piston losses took place while Scottie was on the team. And in 1990, Phil Jackson was the coach, and the Bulls won 55 games, just 4 fewer than the Pistons. You can blame it on whatever. Injuries, the Pistons' patented Jordan rules,
they
and
weren't
even
playing.
Jordan himself.
They wasn't playing.
It's a fair point of criticism to point out that Michael Jordan's Bulls lost in the playoffs early in his career. However, you can't stop the conversation there. Yeah, the Bulls got swept by the 86 Celtics, but come on. That team is pretty universally regarded as Bird's best team, and one of the best teams.
Thank you. I'm just saying. Them boys wasn't playing. Like, we giving them their respect. Them boys was not playing. They wasn't playing, bro.
Of all time after they went on to win the title. The fact that Jordan hung 63 on them, a record that still stands, is outstanding. The 87 Celtics also made the finals. So did the 88 Pistons and the 89 Pistons. and the 1990 Pistons. Of Jordan's 6 pre-title playoff losses, 5 of them made the NBA Finals, and 3 of them ended up winning the whole thing. They're losses nonetheless, but it wasn't like he was being beat by the Washington Generals.
So Jordan was getting beat, right? By the championship teams. I need everybody to watch this video. Everybody I know, oh my God, I need everybody to watch this video. He was getting beat by the championship teams. And then he dropped 63 on one of them.
He was losing and sharpening his teeth against the best, for whatever it's worth. And it's worth something.
Right.
Speaking of Phil and Scotty, another point of contention with Jordan's claim to the throne is the fact that he played for the most decorated coach in basketball and with the best sidekick in sports, along with a team that did their jobs to a T and bought into the team. As for Scotty, there are some people out there who would have you believe that Scottie Pippen was nothing more than a glorified role player. They'll say he didn't have the game to carry a team to a title, and he didn't have the aptitude to spend too much time in the spotlight. They'd have you believe that Scottie Pippen was nothing without Michael Jordan. And that's ridiculous. You can disagree with me, but for my money, Scottie Pippen is the best perimeter defender imaginable. He combined size with uncanny court vision a la Bird and LeBron, knew exactly when to pick his spots and when to defer, and brought a component of selflessness and fraternity to the Bulls that might not have existed otherwise. He was approachable and likable, the counterbalance to Jordan's unyielding intensity. Most importantly, Scottie accepted and flourished in his role. The amount of credit that he deserves and does not get is unfortunate. Same with other players like Horace Grant and Tony Kukoc. Michael Jordan didn't win those championships alone, and those guys all deserve more recognition. When it comes to Phil Jackson, it's been fascinating to revisit Jordan's approach to the game and see how it changed under Jackson. Guys like Mike, Kobe, and Wilt all approached basketball in a similar way, in that they felt that the best chance their team had to win was for them to have the ball in their hands as much as possible. These days, we'd call what they did iso ball or hero ball. Isolate against the defender, tell everyone to get out of the way, and beat your man one-on-one. Watching Mike's early years, it sticks out, painfully at times. Shooting over triple teams, refusing to give the ball up, even if a teammate had an open look. Kobe patterned his game after Jordan, and you can see the same tendencies. Wilt was, of course, a prolific scorer and record setter in his own right, and did so in a manner that gained him the reputation of being selfish. But with Jackson's philosophical influences, the triangle offense, and a stellar supporting cast, Jordan learned to dial those tendencies back and perfect his game, resulting in one of the most dominant stretches any athlete has ever had in their sport. Of course, he still had the stuff to go and win his one-on-one battles, but he walked the line as well as anyone ever has.
Hey, real quick, it just, mid. Shout out to this dude. My bad. Shout out to you for this video, bro, and all the videos you make, bro. My fault. Let me just take the time to, shout out, bro, man, because he informing me, bro.
Kobe did the same thing. He won 3 championships with Shaq at the beginning of the decade of the aughts and finished the decade with back-to-back championships. Now, who was Kobe's coach during those championship years? Who was it that helped him tailor his game to a more team-friendly approach so as to unlock the group's championship potential? Oh yeah, it was Phil Jackson.
For sure.
Phil Jackson should, and does, get praise for managing some of the most eclectic locker rooms in basketball, satiating some of the most headstrong egos in the world, and providing an environment where the most talked about team with the most popular athlete could do their jobs. The Bulls' success might not have been what it was without Scottie Pippen. It might not have happened without Phil Jackson, and Horace Grant, and Tony Kukoc, and Steve Kerr, and Bill Cartwright, and all of those guys.
But it all comes together.
Basketball is a team game after all. But it's our fault that they might not get talked about as much as they should. We are the people who talk about these kinds of things and create the dialogue that takes place about them. That doesn't somehow discredit what Jordan did for those teams or nullify what he contributed. Yeah, Scottie was a perfect sidekick. Yes, Phil Jackson was a masterful coach. Those things can still be true, and Michael Jordan can still be the greatest of all time. Scottie accepted his role on the team. He accepted that he was going to be the second guy. Jordan still had to go out there and do his job as the guy. He still had to set the tone of every practice and every game. He had to put the ball in the hole, share responsibilities guarding the other team's best player, take over when games started slipping out of hand, and, at the end of the game, take the last shot. It doesn't work unless Mike does what everyone expects him to, which is to be the best player in the world.
All I'm gonna say is, bro, it just all came together. He stuck with the Bulls, and everything just came together, bro. Like, what more did anybody else want from him, bro? Like, his approach, like he said, his approach was score, score, score. But guess what basketball is? A team game. It's a team game. The best team wins. At the end of the day, the best team wins. I just find it crazy, like, how bad my generation tried to talk about Jordan. Like, it's a team game.
As for Phil, yes, it is true that he tempered Michael's worst impulses. He helped sand off the rough edges and align the team. But Mike still had to accept that coaching. He had to adapt his game and do the work. Plus, isn't it a coach's job to coach? Why is it a knock on Jordan that his coach was good at his job? Michael Jordan doesn't deserve all of the credit for their success. But he does deserve the lion's share of credit because he shouldered the lion's share of responsibility of such an incredible team.
Exactly.
How incredible of a team were they? Well, the 1996 Chicago Bulls finished the regular season 72-10. That's more wins than anyone had ever won, and a record that most people thought would never be broken.
That's crazy.
And not only were they such a prolific regular season team, but they capped off that season with a championship to deliver the most successful season that any NBA team has ever had. Which brings us to another common Jordan barb. The fact that the NBA was, at the time, looking to capitalize on its enormous popularity and expand into more media markets. From 1988 to 1995, the league saw 6 new teams enter the league, and with each new team, the talent pool of the league got a little more diluted and a little more diluted. As far as I'm concerned, this is a perfectly valid point to bring up when discussing whether or not 72 wins validates the 1996 Bulls as the best basketball team of all time. I don't think it disqualifies them in the same way that I don't think that just taking 72 wins at face value automatically puts them at the top. But when people try to say that Michael Jordan played in a weak era or didn't face tough competition, it makes me want to pull my teeth out with pliers.
No, yeah, that'd be crazy.
We know who Jordan was losing to, so who was he beating once his reign began? John Starks, Charles Oakley, and Patrick Ewing on the New York Knicks, the Bad Boy Pistons, Magic Johnson, Clyde Drexler, Dominique Wilkins, Charles Barkley, Alonzo Mourning, Larry Johnson, Tim Hardaway, Shaquille O'Neal, Penny Hardaway, Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, Chris Webber, John Stockton, Karl Malone, and Reggie Miller. Basically every...
Y'all crazy. Y'all crazy. You know, sometimes I just want to, you know what I'm saying? Like, just fight. Oh, my fault. My bad. It's just, bro, did y'all see everybody that he just named, bro? A weak era.
Every relevant basketball player from the 1990s beside David Robinson and Hakeem Olajuwon. And no, I don't care to count up how many All-NBA opponents the Bulls saw versus someone else, or how many All-Star teammates Jordan had versus other players, or any of that. Because one, the players on that list all passed the smell test of a
Hold on. I just want to see that one more time.
Versus someone else, or how many All-Star teammates Jordan had versus other players, or any of that. Because one, the players on that list all passed the smell test of a competitive era with flying colors. Two, I don't care about that stuff. And three, because, like I have said and will continue to say, Everybody has advantages. Everybody. You become great by capitalizing on the moments when everything lines up for you. You seize the opportunity and press the advantage. So what if the Bulls were expected to win? They did win. And they were expected to win because Michael Jordan tipped the scales in their favor against everybody. And as a final objection, people who are looking to dethrone Jordan will tell you that he was an asshole to his teammates, that he alienated those who he didn't deem worthy or tough enough to play alongside him, and he refused to respect or trust them. And that is a fact. He was an asshole. He punched multiple teammates in the face, belittled his peers for mishandling passes, and spoke to his teammates in a way that would not fly in 2020. It's a fact that feels especially stark when you take into account the impact that more reserved and compassionate leaders like Tim Duncan and Bill Russell had on their teams. It is
But in a sense, like, depending on, either your upbringing or, I'm gonna say even just your upbringing or your surroundings, like, some of the stuff you could take and you can grow from it, or you can let it break you. It's honestly on you. Like, just, I ain't gonna lie. If the greatest player, but like the greatest player, coming from the greatest player, bro, that is tough. That is tough. But most of them got through it.
Possible to win in the NBA without being a jerk, but it's also possible to win while being a jerk. And remember, Jordan wasn't lashing out for no reason. He wasn't walking into the gym just looking for an ego boost and to demean someone while he took the day off. He wanted his teammates to work as hard as he did. He had to make them understand that the Bulls could not be playing games because they wanted to win. They had to play as if they needed to win. Because psychologically, Jordan did. Take Tim Duncan and compare him to Michael Jordan. You never hear about Tim Duncan really tearing into some dude in front of the whole team at practice. You never hear about Mike not taking the opportunity to chew out a teammate that could have done something better. They are polar opposites when it comes to how they led, but they were both leaders, and both of their styles worked. In the same way that not everybody could play for the Spurs, not everybody could play for the Bulls. If you couldn't handle the team first, no one is above the group approach that the Spurs culture built, you weren't playing with Tim Duncan. And if you couldn't handle getting called out, being pushed past your stress point, and playing without fear, you were not playing with Michael Jordan. They both shared a common vision of basketball perfection. They set a high standard and expected everyone around them to work as hard as they did at achieving that standard.
That's real.
If you didn't, you were out. So yeah, Michael wasn't nice. Not everyone could get along with him. If he had spent his years in the league making a villain out of himself and making enemies out of everyone else, toiling away in the postseason without ever breaking through, that would be one thing. But what he did worked. It produced results. And speaking of results, the guy won 6 effing rings. And he won all of them as the best player. I know that the people who want to discredit Jordan have already found a million ways to get around 6 rings, but I don't buy any of them. It is literally the best claim that any player has to the throne. He won more championships as the best player on the team than anyone but Bill Russell. But Jordan did it with more teams and more variables that could have set the team back. He checks all of the boxes. He had more success than Wilt, had more statistical prestige than Russell, had a higher peak than Bird or Magic, and leveraged that peak for more titles as the guy than Kareem. He was the ultimate closer. He lived for the moments that decide games. As an individual talent, he is an A+, as special as you can get, as well-rounded as anyone ever. As a team athlete, his place in the game is immortalized. Listen, it's impossible to watch Michael Jordan and not romanticize him. No object in the world looks more natural than a basketball in Michael Jordan's hand. It's like the ball was designed for him, or like he was made for the ball, or both. You can't appreciate Michael Jordan without hyperbole and superlatives. He is the avatar of sport. He is competition incarnate. His defining trait remains his insatiable need to win. He wanted to win at everything. When he came into the league, there were questions about his shooting and his defense. So he became a defensive player of the year and a mid-range marksman. He heard he couldn't win for years. So he took it all out on his competition and led his teams to 2 separate three-peats. He ironed out all of his flaws because he would
2 separate 3-piece, bro. What's the name of this channel? Oh yeah, it's AB3 TV.
accept no result but victory. So don't even start to tell me that he wouldn't have developed a 3-point shot today.
Right.
And more than anything, sport is an art form, isn't it? It's expression. It's theater and it's storytelling. Part of sports is the excitement, the show. And Michael Jordan was the most dynamic show in the world during the end of the century.
Ow.
Part of it too is because the Jordan show wasn't terribly complicated. There wasn't a lot of baggage attached to the Michael Jordan experience. The things that he did made people believe, if only for a few moments, in superheroes. When spectators looked at him, hoping to find something to connect with, they found the indomitability of human will. The old sports cliche fully realized that the game is won by the team who wants it more. And we all like to think of ourselves like that we are wired like Jordan. But let's face it, we're not all like that. That's what made him special. There's only one Michael Jordan.
It's a fact.
As for the story, how's this? There's a guy who is knocking on the door of the Pantheon. He has been for a while now. He captures the imagination of everyone who has ever seen him play. He might well be the most talented player to ever lace up a pair of shoes, but he just can't seem to break through. He loses in the playoffs against the same team over and over and over. Every year, he gets a little bit closer and a little bit closer until finally he breaks through. His talent is justified with 1, 2, 3 championships, all in a row. It hadn't been done in 30 years. Now there's talk about how this guy might not just be the best talent, he might be the best ever. And as he's climbed the mountain, he has become the most famous athlete in the world. And then he retires, only to come back a year and a half later. In his first full year back from retirement, they win the title. He is back. And then they do it again. By now, he is practically lapping every other player historically. Every image of Michael Jordan in recent memory is of his team holding the trophy. By 1998, he had won 5 championships in 7 years. 3 in a row, and then back to back. And now it was the end, the last year of everyone's contracts. The team's blowing it up. This is their last ride, the last dance. They're running on fumes, but they climb all the way back up the mountain to the top. They're back in the finals. The target on their backs has never been bigger. The pressure has never been heavier. In Game 6, on the road, looking to wrap up an unprecedented second three-peat in a game with more people watching than in any other game, it goes down to the wire. The Utah Jazz won't go away. Unfortunately for them, they're playing against Michael Jordan, who saved his best for last. Here is Michael Jordan's final shot as a Chicago Bull.
He didn't show the steal first.
Jordan, open.
Picture perfect, bruh. Picture perfect. Oh my. He the greatest. Hey, bruh. Shout out to you, bruh. Because this ain't do nothing but just solidify each and every one of my arguments. Hey, clap it up for Brody, bro. He the great. Like, I don't know, man. Like, the aura, like, when you just talk about everything he did, bro, each and every moment, he got literally names for his moments. It's not fair. The shot. You feel me? The flu game. The shrug. The list is just too long. One of my main arguments is that had this man never retired, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, bro. Cause you know this is a butterfly effect. Had this man never retired, bro, I don't know, man. I'm seeing 7 or 8 rings, bro. 7 or 8. 7 or 8, bro. At least. Not to mention if he never retired, period, how much, like, he could have been the leading scorer of all time. Right? He could have got 10,000 assists and 10,000 rebounds, if I'm doing my math correctly. It's just too much, y'all. If you made it this far in this video, I appreciate you. I rock with you. Hit that subscribe button. We on that road to 1,000. And after that, ain't no 25. No, after that, we on the road to 5,000. And then 10,000. You feel me? I had to make this one special for y'all, man. I've been waiting to do this one. You know what I'm saying? I've been waiting to do this one. I do it for this video. Again, I love and appreciate y'all. It's SuperFan TV, and I'm out of here, y'all.